This video is going to walk you through the process of creating your first campaign in LeadProsper from start to finish. Once you've created an account, which you can do at leadprosper.io, you'll log in and see the dashboard. Eventually, the dashboard will display all kinds of useful, high-level information about your campaign traffic, revenue, and more, but for now, it's a clean slate. To create our first campaign, let's start by adding some clients within the Clients tab. Keep in mind that LeadProsper isn't meant to be a CRM. Clients simply tell the platform and the user where data is coming from and where it's meant to go. Go ahead and add your lead supplier or your own company if you're generating the leads yourself. Next, you'll add a buyer or endpoint, whether that's a CRM, a dialer, or an API that the leads will be sent to. Once you've added your clients, head to the Campaigns tab. There are a few resources here to help you, but for now, just click this button to create your first campaign. Here, you're presented with 3 different campaign type options. We recommend you select the multi-to-multi option, and here's why. Say you've built out a single buyer campaign and you're brokering data from several suppliers. Eventually, you partner up with another much larger supplier, greatly increasing the volume of incoming leads. In this case, your single buyer doesn't have the budget to purchase all of the incoming leads, and while it would be nice to add another buyer, you're locked in to a single buyer setup. That means you'll need to recreate the campaign from scratch to add another buyer. The same applies with the multi-buyer setup. You can only have that single supplier. In other words, choosing the multi-to-multi type gives you all the same options as a single buyer or multi-buyer campaign with the flexibility to grow and make changes down the road. Next, you'll give your campaign a name, and because it has the option to operate with multiple buyers, we need to specify how we would want to distribute leads to those endpoints. If you only have a single buyer, you can leave the type as waterfall. Because it's not a bad idea to be familiar with our distribution options, I'll take a second to go over them here. First up is the waterfall method, which allows you to rank your buyers in an order of your choosing. Each new lead will be offered first to buyer A. If buyer A rejects it, it will go down the line to buyer B, buyer C, etc. This method's useful if you have buyers paying different amounts and you want to always offer a lead to the highest payer first. Next, you can choose Send to All, which will send a shared lead to a group of buyers. Because it's not an exclusive lead, buyers will pay quite a bit less, but you still get to sell a single lead multiple times. In a round-robin configuration, the lead is offered to a different buyer each time. If buyer A is offered lead 1, the next lead that comes in will be offered to buyer B first. This distribution method gives all of your buyers an equal chance at acquiring a lead. Finally, the highest bidder configuration can help you maximize your revenue if you're distributing leads via ping post. You'll ping out partial lead information to a group of potential buyers, and if they're interested, they'll send back a bid. As the name implies, highest bidder sends the lead to the buyer who's willing to pay the most. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's continue with our campaign using waterfall distribution. The next step is to enter the fields that you and your buyers are collecting. These fields would be outlined on your buyer's API posting instructions, or if you're generating your own leads, you would map the fields to reflect what's being collected on your form. Once you've created a few campaigns, you'll be able to easily recreate them by importing fields with this button, but for now, you'll use the Add button to add fields one at a time. Over here on the left, I've got example buyer posting specs. This is for a sample solar campaign, and I'm going to go ahead and add these fields into my campaign, paying special attention to the field type, format, and whether or not it's required by my buyer. LP campaign ID, supplier ID, and key will be hard-coded later. So I'll start with this first required field, email, and work my way through. As you add your fields, pay special attention to the naming convention and format requested by the buyer. For some fields like name, city, or address, you'll have no choice but to use the text format, but others like state or phone number can be more specific. For example, if you're collecting a phone number, your buyer might want it as 10 digits plus hyphens, 10 digits plus a country code, or any of a number of other options. the data isn't formatted correctly, the lead will fail. In our example campaign, we ask a solar-specific question about the amount of shade on a lead's roof. This field is a multiple values, one choice format. Once you've added fields, you'll see an option to turn on third-party validation services. Because you can turn these on at any time, we'll skip them here and make a separate video going over them in detail. The final step in our campaign build is to set up a dupe checker. This feature will ensure Lead Prosper is failing leads that have already been delivered based on the fields of your choosing. The most common fields applied to a dupe checker are phone and email. You can decide whether a lead is classified as a dupe if all the specified fields match or just one. You also determine how many days the platform will look back for duplicate data, with 90 days being pretty standard. Finally, do you want to check for duplicates on a buyer level or a campaign level? If you're checking on the buyer level, the campaign will accept a duplicate lead, but make sure it's routed to another buyer who hasn't seen it before. If you're checking for dupes at the campaign level, any incoming leads matching data that's been received in the last 90 days will be rejected. We'll go over the remaining two options in a later video, but for now, let's save our campaign and get our client set up. Start by clicking here to add a supplier, and if you've been following along, choose the supplier that you added earlier. Add caps to limit how much data you ingest from your supplier. You can add daily, weekly, monthly, and overall caps. You can even toggle this option on to assign caps to specific days of the week. To leave your campaign uncapped, keep these values set at 0. On the pricing page, we'll set the default price we've agreed to pay our supplier for each lead. In this case, let's say we're buying high-intent solar leads for $25 each. You can also set conditional pricing based on your fields. Maybe you're willing to pay more for leads in Texas, say $35. On the filters page, we can add granular filters based on any fields we've created. Maybe solar leads in Texas are worth more to our buyer, but they don't have any installers in New York or New Jersey. We can go ahead and add this filter. We can block New York and New Jersey. Once you click Finish, we'll click this Add a Buyer button. If we click here, we can go and either create a new buyer or add one we've already created in the Clients tab. As you're building out your buyer, you're able to determine cap settings, price settings, filters, and static fields. We'll go over these in future videos, but the most important step here is within the payload builder, found on the real-time action page. This section is where you decide what the platform does when a lead is successfully ingested. You have a few options here. Moving from right to left, you can email the lead directly to your buyer, store it within Lead Prosper, ping out partial information in a ping post scenario, or simply post the lead directly to your buyer's API. Most of the time, leads are sent via direct post. Before we proceed, we need to get a hold of our buyer's posting instructions. If you're lucky, they'll resemble these sample instructions here, but they could also be a Word document or even typed out in the body of an email. We'll make another video with some lower quality posting instructions to show you what you might have to work through. But for now, let's assume your buyer is up to speed. First, the posting URL. Where's the information going? The buyer's provided this URL, so let's copy and paste it right here. We recommend you use copy-paste whenever possible because a typo in the payload builder can leave you scratching your head wondering why your campaign isn't working. Next, we need to choose the request method. Our options are get, post, and put, and our buyer has requested we use post. Now, for payload type, they've given us the option to use either a form or a JSON. If your buyer didn't specify, you can tell what they're expecting by the sample payload they provide. If the payload is made up of each field written out in one long string like this, LP campaign ID and supplier ID and LP key, and it would continue on, and email and first name, then that indicates they're expecting a form. If the payload looks like this, with each field on its own line, they're expecting a JSON. Before we move past the payload builder, we need to hard code in some static fields so the buyer knows where this data is coming from. You can find that information in the fields section of your posting instructions, but because these values match the example payload, I can just copy paste this into my payload builder. Now we need to add the header key and value, which our buyer has specified here. We'll go ahead and copy the key, which is content type, and application/JSON, which is the value. Finally, we need to key responses so Lead Prosper knows the status of requests. Here, our buyer tells us that all responses are going to be sent back in JSON format. And we could see that the key preceding the response is status. Let's copy that in, and then copy in the value for an accepted lead, which is accepted. We'll repeat the same thing for a duplicated lead, which is duplicated. On the next page, we'll see the option to add in webhooks. A webhook is essentially a second direct post after the first action is complete. If you're confused, don't worry. We'll cover webhooks and their use cases in a future video. For now, though, we need to test our campaign to make sure everything's working. To test, go to your buyer and click the menu button, and then go to Test Buyer. Here, we'll see all the fields we added, and we can generate some dummy data to make our lives a little easier. I like to go ahead and add test in a couple different fields, just so the person on the other end of this API knows that this is a test and not a real lead. Let's send this request and see what kind of response we get. Great, the lead was accepted. We'll copy this response and send it to our buyer to make sure everything looks good on their end. Once we have the go-ahead, we can take our campaign live. If we had gotten a failed response, for instance, maybe a field was in the wrong format and we sent that request, we would get an error and we would get information about what was wrong with the request. Testing helps you troubleshoot and eliminate any issues before a campaign is live. When we're ready to go live, we go back to our buyer and click this button to resume our campaign. To connect Lead Prosper to your data source, whether it's your own lead generation form or a supplier, you'll go ahead and send them these supplier API specs, which contain all the documentation they need to route data into your campaign. And that's it. As always, if you have any questions, please make use of the support button. We've got some resources here you can search through to find answers to your questions, or you can click this Ask button and submit a ticket via email. Occasionally we'll have live chat options as well, but even if you send an email, we will get back to you as quickly as possible, usually in just a few minutes.